finish. Watson comes away.
It's gone too far.
Watson boots it into the Twickenham stands.
Wales have got away with it. A sobering day for Italy in the Six Nations.
This is Scotland's day. They win at Twickenham for the first time in 38 years.
Hello, tea time on a Sunday, just like old times, in the company of Brian Moore and Sam Warburton, and we have so much to talk about over the next hour after a second round of absolutely enthralling matches. Just how good are France? The match in Dublin this afternoon would be the acid test. Just how good was that match at Murrayfield yesterday? And more to the point, how did Wales win it? And what to be made of England's 6 tries against Italy? And is Johnny May still airborne? So let's start at the Aviva Stadium this afternoon. France had only beaten Ireland twice in the last 10 years, but they were huge favourites to win the Six Nations this year, the first time that would have been in more than a decade. Our commentator in Dublin, Eddie Butler.
It's a dark day in Dublin, but how might France brighten up this Sunday of round 2 in the Six Nations? And how might Ireland respond to defeat in round 1 here at home in Dublin? A message to be underlined in the Six Nations. Rugby against racism, no place for it in this sport, no place for it anywhere. A change in the back row for Ireland. Rhys Ruddock comes in for the suspended Peter O'Mahony, and Ian Henderson of Ulster comes into the second row and is the captain of Ireland for the first time. Change at halfback. No Johnny Sexton, no Conor Murray. Jamison Gibson-Park at scrum half and Billy Burns outside him. France have just made 2 little tweaks. Jolanche comes into the back row instead of Crétin. Charles Olivant, so influential as the captain and player. And behind the scrum, there is one slight change. Damien Penaud comes in for Teddy Thomas. Both Dylan Crétin and Teddy Thomas take their places on the replacements bench. So France's 23 remains the same. Oh, it's been a very stop-start, cagey, almost inactive first period. Rhys Ruddock just over the 22.
Don't try and buy it, 9, come on.
Gibson-Park warned by the referee for taking a bit of a dive. And then he tries the dummy. Tackler must move away.
C'est bon ici, mais pas ici. Sorti le placard.
No hesitation. Billy Burns is going for another kick at goal. It's a brutal tackle by Bernard Leroux. Had to be careful not to tip him up too much, but then Leroux has to move away. No problem this time for Billy Burns, and Ireland score the first points of the game. They take the lead, 3 points to 0.
Fine. Set. Ireland, use it.
Gibson-Park is going open instead. Robbie Henshaw.
9.
Gibson-Park towards Villiers, well taken by the wing.
It's a foul play against this winger.
I think we're looking at Bernard Leroux tripping somebody. There's Leroux, and he clips the feet.
The issue is,
I know, but the problem is he reaches out with his
a trip in rugby
left
is
boot.
a yellow card.
Yellow to Bernard Leroux for
Here,
tripping Keith Holmes.
Ireland, stay 10, restez 10.
France down a forward.
Maul!
Hence
Line out over.
the maul. Rob Herring in control, and again it's a very close-knit Irish formation. And France, well, they've stopped it well because they were at 6s and 7s again. Burns, long, out to Hugo Keenan. Ireland's best attack of the first half. James Lowe reaches out. It seems Brice Dulin had made the tackle, but James Lowe reckons he has scored.
Yeah,
we shall
so
check.
Definitely got a grounding, so on-field try. Tom,
Yes, mate.
on-field try, mate. Just looking at the touch with the back foot,
There was work
Okay,
to
so
do
on-field
for James
try.
Lowe when
We're
he
just checking
received the
touch.
ball.
1
Yeah,
second.
that's right.
Here he goes. He's down. He can make
C'est 2
one
secondes, s'il vous plaît.
instant play.
Oui, je parle après.
Oh, he's out. He's in touch. There's a boot on the line.
C'est bien, the one, isn't it?
Yeah, Luke, his right foot touches the line before he's grounded the ball, so overturn your on-field decision
Left
and go
boot.
with the line out, 5 metres out.
Is okay, but then the right boot behind it
No try.
just touches the line. Dulin with the tackle, Ficou with the assist, and they just get that one boot there
Your receiver, this.
of James Lowe against the whitewash. Now then, Ficou, none of this pushing nonsense at the scrummage. Out in the centre, making ground. Here's Jalibert, the offload to Marchand, back to Dupont, the clever pass out to Damien Penaud. This is France's best attack by a street. Oh, Ficou picked it up well. Olivon outside, and the try scorer 4 times last year is in again. Charles Olivon, having done nothing all first half. France strike. Jalibert straightens the series of offloads now. Brilliant. Dupont with the floated one, but they're all important. Damien Penaud, the strength to go through 2 tackles. There'll be calls outside Jalibert, and another clever little pass by Gaël Ficou, and France's captain finishes the job. So much more like the France that will threaten in the Six Nations. Dupont feeds a scrum that starts to budge a little bit. It hasn't been that comfortable for France, the scrummage in this first half, but Aldrit gets it up to Ireland's 22. Rob Herring tries to grapple Cyril Bay
Advantage.
to the ground. Cian Healy gives away
Chose the wrong way.
the penalty.
That's accidental. Back to the penalty. 1 away.
Cian Healy penalised. Healy, do I roll right? Do I roll left? Oh, it's the wrong option. Mathieu Jalibert, straight between the posts. France into double figures. They've come alive in the last 10 minutes of this first half. 1 try, 1 penalty. 10 points to 3, they lead.
19.
France in the lead. Starting to play. Julien Marchand really playing now. Marchand 2 metres short. Surely Dupont. Oh, and it
22.
wraps into Paul
Off the French
Willemse.
player's head. No knock on. It's a 22. Yeah, no props.
No knock on Paul Willemse.
Yeah, no.
Receives the pass and heads it over the dead ball line.
Crutch.
More happening in the opening couple of minutes of this second half than in
Fine.
the first 20 minutes of the first.
Set.
On the Irish
France.
22,
Use
Dupont
it. Je.
looks up. Has a little run across field himself before feeding Gaël Ficou. Keeps his legs going. Dupont again. Aldrit. Ringrose comes in to make the tackle. CJ Stander over the ball, but it's there for Dupont. Jalibert
Offside,
to
back foot.
Bernard Leroux. Penalty advantage to France. Dupont back
Avantage France.
to the heavyweights. The other one, Awas, after Bay was involved, still advantage. The little flick, Dupont, Jalibert, the floated pass to Dulin. Dulin to Damien Penaud, France's second try. It's the combination of the little slip passes and then the floated passes to give space on the outside. One little flick from Dupont. Then Jalibert goes the long way round, the floated pass. Dulin beats one tackle.
Go on, Sean.
And gets the final pass to Damien Penaud in support.
Oh, and you got some...
It's Ed Byrne against the fullback. In fact, the prop did ever so well to make life difficult for the fullback, but they cannot deny Damien Penaud. Ronan Kelleher is on for Ireland. Can't find Ultan Dillon, but Kelleher for the line. Oh, the reply by Ireland. Ronan Kelleher straight on and straight over. The throw initially goes wrong, but it's the bouncing ball that can create havoc for defending sides. Good turn of pace by the hooker. Gabin Villiers can't stop him. Ireland score their first try of the game. Ronan Kelleher tackled by Olivon with a slight arm around the neck. Ross Byrne with Gaël Ficou over the ball.
Back we come, just over the shoulder.
Has won
So
it,
the back
yeah.
elbow.
It is the high tackle before.
The tackle was fine, but the first tackle is one wide. Over the shoulder, contact with the neck.
France led 15 points to 3 at one stage in the second half. This kick by Ross Byrne to bring Ireland back to within 2 points. Very well struck, Ross Byrne. It's Johnny Sexton, the absent captain, looking on, applauding.
Right to the receiver.
Up goes Oliver.
5 by Ireland. Advantage.
Penalty advantage to France. A lot of shouting and screaming at the line out, but they've got the penalty.
Okay.
If this goes over, Ireland will have to score a try. It's come off the woodwork.
No, backing out.
The gap, just the 2 points. Ireland still in their 22, but they can still think about a 3-pointer as opposed to the 5. Gibson Park says, let's see what can happen.
Off an Irish leg, so France ball. Good.
Struck it well, Jalibert, but it's always curling towards that post. Gave it such a good wrap, it might have rebounded far enough to find French hands. Oh, coach Fabien Galtier. Gary Ringrose. France's defence still rushing up, and Bernard Leroux
He has the ball.
is still leading
Ireland,
that
no
charge.
hands.
France have stolen it, they'll get the ball off the
Onside,
field.
22.
Gregory Aldrit says
Use
get
it.
it off the pitch. Vincent back to Dulin, that's it. It's 2 out of 2 wins for France on the road. They have won in Rome and now they've won in Dublin. Not pretty, no frills, no real adventure, but a good professional job done by France. Antoine Dupont very much involved. Satisfaction for Fabien Galtier. His team have won again. 2 out of 2. Ireland 13, France 15.
I think our defense was outstanding through the whole game. It showed our team spirit, character was there. Of course, you know, there were a few mistakes during the game, and Ireland played with show a lot of bravery. But in the end, it's fantastic for us to get with the win.
There's a lot of lads that's hurting, and the reason they are hurting, physically hurting as well as mentally, is because they put the bodies on the line for the country, you know. And that was there in abundance. The effort's not the problem at all, isn't it? You know, but still hurts to lose the game.
When they go down to 14 men, you have to capitalise in this game. You've got to punish people for having ill discipline. We just didn't do that. That was our opportunity to get up in the game. What's that, 2 points we ended up down by? If we even a penalty in there or a try in there, and that's it. That's a different looking second half.
We take step by step. I think we're just going to enjoy the win tonight, regroup as a team, as we're doing that for a year now, and ready for the next challenge.
Well, obviously, it was a game that was live right to the last gasp. And as we looked at the facts and figures, you can see there was actually an awful lot of kicking in that game. I mean, nearly 1 a minute. But for all that, it didn't almost feel like that. It actually was a really interesting match. But, you know, you can read so much into match stats. But much more possession for Ireland, much more territory for France. But Eddie Butler made the point, Sam, in that commentary. It's kind of job done, move on.
It was. I think it was a bit of an arm wrestle all game, and Ireland managed to keep the ball pretty well. But I don't think, if you were the French players on the pitch, you would have felt too threatened. You know, Ireland scored an opportunistic try, but other than that, in general phase play, you felt France were in control of that game, and any away win in Dublin is a good win. So it was a good professional result for France.
And the huge thing went down to 14 men. It came out 7 points up. You know, the average used ship is 7 points, so that's almost a 14-point swing. And when they were talking about what they needed to do, they were exactly right. That was a crucial thing, even though it happened very early on in the game.
We're talking about 7 points. I mean, this is the Match of the Day studio, and if you were watching last night, you would have seen microscopic details determining whether somebody's offside or they're not. You know, we had the same situation here with the try that Ireland eventually had chalked out, but it was the right call, Brian.
It was the right call, and that's all people really want. I mean, I don't care how long it takes to really get the right call. And this just testament to, you know, I wouldn't say it's necessarily newfound, but it's certainly been reshaped by Sean Edwards. And the defence is not just a question of organisation, it's a question of will. And they are willing at the moment. You can see, you know, Fiku and other people putting their bodies on the line to try and make sure that doesn't go over the smallest of margins. It is a correct call, but that is down to the last gasp efforts, you know, of the French players determining that Ireland won't score.
Dupont had another excellent game, and he's at the centre of everything. And France now have this appearance, at least, of having rediscovered their panache and everything else. We didn't see much of it today, but we did see it once.
Yeah, we didn't see loads of it, but when they did it, it worked. It was really accurate. So, you know, when France, when they carried tight, you know, Ireland kind of dealt with it pretty well, and likewise, Ireland were carrying and France were dealing with it. But then there was that one occasion, and we can see here that 4 offloads creates a try, and you see the first offload from Jalibert there, 2 offloads there. Now the Irish are scrambling back, and they're so unorganised in defence. It just means that France, and normally Ireland now, they'll all honeypot that ruck, which is really smart play from France. They play out the back. Charles Olivon keeps his width on the wing, and that's what allows them to score that. So it's a really smart try. You know, lots of teams go short when they make a line break, but those 4 offloads, we get a nice close-up on these now. That is what breaks up the defence.
And the thing that he did there, Sam, was Keith Earls has been dragged from the right wing. When the ball eventually comes out, you've got Ruddock and the scrum half out wide. Gibson Park decides he comes in. If you come in off the wing, you have to hit man and ball.
Oh, exactly. So
and he doesn't do either. And that, I mean, I would have enough numbers there.
Yeah,
but that creates the overlap.
They could have coped with it, and off a line break, that's when teams are so unorganised. But like you say, Earls and Ringrose are both right around that ruck. They need to be setting the width. They're the ones who are initiating that line speed when the ball does get spread to width. So, you know, it just shows 4 offloads creates so much disorganisation in the defence. But France, you've got to give credit to them. They capitalised on it, and it was good accuracy.
We're talking about defence. I mean, is it almost just lazy and simplistic analysis to say, oh, Sean Edwards, they've changed?
Slightly, because irrespective of what he does, the players have got to buy into this. They've got to commit themselves to it. Having said that, it is easier to do that if you've got someone who is good, who you know has been successful,
who's shouting
who you believe in, and who shouts at you in a very clipped Wigan stroke French accent. I mean, so Sam's been on the other end of this. He can.
I remember like team meetings and like you can question to a certain degree, but I liked how he'd say, "I'm saying this because it works. I know it works. It's won Premiership finals, it's won Grand Slams. My system works," and it does. And he's gone to France with a language barrier, and it's working. And you see the top 14, the clubs, they're employing Sean's policies as well. So he's had a big knock-on effect through the whole of French rugby.
Because the thing is, you know, with a minute to go, Ireland are in possession, and it's recycle after recycle, phase after phase, and there's always the possibility here of an infringement by a player, a penalty, and Ireland win it. But they didn't infringe, and that's the key thing.
Completely. I mean, you remember a long time ago when the All Blacks scored in the last 2 minutes against Ireland, and I went through that, and there were 84 things that could have gone wrong. Any point at which, if you go off your feet, if you put a hand in there, that they don't do that. And that discipline is not just about not punching people. It's about knowing when to go in for the ball, when not to, when to back off, when to listen to the referee and so on like that. And they're doing that much better. And that is a foundation of everything they're doing. Because when you win ugly like this, they may have lost that game in previous years, but they scrapped it out today.
It's great composure. This last set of play summed up the game for me. You know, Ireland weren't able to penetrate the French defence, and like you say, Brian, France pounced at the right time, and they got the turnover. They were really patient, didn't give away penalties, and that's exactly what they couldn't afford to do with only a 2-point margin. So the pressure is on. So, you know, when that situation happens to you in a game, you'd be screaming, just no penalties. Just let your defensive system swallow it up and wait till Ireland make a mistake. And France did that. So it was a mature finish to a game for France as well.
So play 2-1-2 for the French. Right, from Dublin, actually a balmy Dublin this afternoon. It was 11 degrees to Arctic Murrayfield yesterday. Just imagine how much noise there'd have been there if we'd had a full crowd. Anyway, it was just an absolute classic, and it held your grip right to the very last second.
Murrayfield is a little patch of green in the white blanket of Edinburgh. It all adds to the otherworldly feeling of this day. But trophies wait. Donny Weir Cup, the Triple Crown, is there not for this day, but it's there as a reminder of what might be for both of these sides. The only two home nations that can still win the Triple Crown. Scotland are not without their injury issues. 3 big absentees today, just 1 in the pack in blindside flanker Jamie Ritchie. So Blade Thompson comes in, perhaps quieter, but a real presence in the line out. And the different shapes of the Fagerson brothers, front and back of the scrum, but they're 2 of the main ball carriers. In the back line, a real shame that Cam Redpath can't build on his impressive debut in the centre, so Harlequins' James Lang starts, as he did in Llanelli in October. Will Scotland miss the defensive and aerial talents of Sean Maitland, although in Darcy Graham they have one of the most exciting wingers in the game. As for Wales, well, very solid in the scrum last week. Loosehead Wyn Jones named man of the match for his carrying as much as anything else. That front 5 remains the same, with Lydiate out, and now also Navidi and McLeod. It's Aaron Wainwright who comes in on the blind side. Upheaval in the back line with a hamstring injury to Tomas Williams. Gareth Davis starts at scrum half. Midfield, though, is perhaps most experimental. Big loss of George North. Nick Tompkins inside Owen Watkin. But again, a very impressive back 3 with Liam Williams returning. Scotland trying to find a way through. Matt Fagerson. You see Liam Williams doing great work in defence. Hamish Watson. Nearly through, Russell offloads to Johnny Gray. Johnny Gray now looking for support, still going. Johnny Gray up to the 22, now the blue shirts arrive. Wales have just done enough to slow things down. Hamish Watson spins. The cries of off his feet from Wales. Oh, the chip through and it's gathered, and it's going to be a try for Darcy Graham. Darcy Graham dots it down. What a well-worked try, and Darcy Graham continues his fine scoring rate for Scotland.
What a score for Darcy Graham. Look at the smile, back into the team and scoring his 8th try for Scotland. What a wonderful attacking kick from Marley Price. Wonderful awareness, wonderful piece of skill.
Set. Now stay up. Both of you, stay up. Stay high. Stay up, stay up. Use it.
Scotland being told to use it, so Gary Graham goes digging. And Price on to Harris, and Russell now. And Scotland putting width on it again. And Hogg is scuttling after this one, chasing down his own kick. Great defensive. Oh no, it's there for Hogg now. And Hogg might slide and score, and he does. Second try for Scotland. It looked for all the world as if Halfpenny had covered it. But Stuart Hogg, brilliance again from the Scotland fullback. And chasing down his own kick and rewarded with a try.
It's a set-piece attack, isn't it, from that scrum on the left-hand side. Look at the runners, look how it fixes the Welsh defence, and then the kick comes through because Lee Halfpenny's come up to make the 2-on-2, and then Scotland are pouring through in the numbers. Hogg follows his own kick and gets that try for Scotland.
Wales with an opportunity. I fancy they need to take something before the break.
No.
Owens to Beard.
In 5, in 5. Out now, out.
Rory Sutherland being told to get out of there now. Scotland loose head. And the Wales start to move again towards that line, also towards touch though, so they try and reset and redirect. Another penalty advantage. So Wales with a free attack. And you wonder if the referee will be having a chat with Scotland shortly.
Penalty advantage.
Bigger then, gives it on. Tompkins, basketball style to Liam Williams. Out wide, Lewis Rees-Zammit. Can he score again? He can. Wales have their try. And they're coming back into this game. Lewis Rizam it again.
But when you're defending on your own try line, it's so hard when the team spreads it, and I just hope that that's a lesson to Wales, that if they do throw the ball a little bit wider, they're going to get some success. So the great attack that they had there, they could throw caution to the wind, and it paid off.
Matt Fagerson gets over the top and clears that ball. Xander Fagerson, the older brother. Alun Jones barking away at his troops on. Closer still, Scotland to the line, up to within a metre or so. Gary Graham, Johnny Gray, adding his weight.
Hands up,
Desperate Welsh defence, firing up to try and disrupt. Rory Sutherland looks to pick and go. Great work by Wainwright, got in around his knees. Ali Price is slowed down, then feeds on to Cummings, who's over for the try. Scotland have their thirds. But those artificial cheers might subside, they're going to look at it.
Just hang on. Okay, Carl, on-field decision is no try. I believe the ball is held up, but we'll just check. But first of all, I want to see if the Scottish ball carrier is if there's an obstruction with the ball carrier and the support player.
Okay. So how did that gap appear for Cummings? Was there obstruction? And then if he was held up, that's great defensive work.
20 is the ball carrier.
Cummings looked for all the world as if he had it, but it was Graham, so Cummings is certainly in front of the man. Tipperick rises to take it. Good maul as well by Wales, making great ground, in Scotland being splintered in defence as well. Wales have made 15-20 metres or so. Now, what can they fashion? Lovely hands, there's Lewis Rizam again, out wide it goes, surely a try. Liam Williams is there, and Wales do have the try, and they are roaring back into this game. And Wales really do have belief now.
Similar story, isn't it, to try in the first half? A really good tight drive from the Welsh forwards, and then great play by Lewis Rizam. Floats the pass out. Liam Williams dives in for Wales' second try.
It is anybody's game. Gary Graham straight forward, and Ken Owens is rocked back.
Step back. Thank you.
On to Sutherland. Russell just a little dink and chasing it is Harris. Owen, was he taken in the airplay on, says the referee. Taken down well by the centre. Price, second thoughts. Xander Fagerson. Russell again, but this pass to nobody but touch. No, kept alive beautifully by Hogg between the legs. Harris now on to Turner. And Price over the top this time. And Liam Williams watches.
Wait. 6.
And Hogg again, as Scotland once more trying to get on the front foot. Hogg again with the ball in both hands. You never know which way he's going to turn. And the ball just counter-rucked, hacked through illegally. Penalty to Scotland. Now foul play checking against blue 3, and that's Xander Fagerson. When something is checked and drawn to the attention of the referee, it doesn't usually end well for the player highlighted.
Okay, no problem.
No, Xander Fagerson arriving, trying to clear out. Is it on the head?
15 is on the side.
I think that's harsh if you're going to give him a red card. I'm not sure where else he can go.
Down, so we've got direct contact with the player coming from distance and hitting his shoulder directly onto the head.
As it was for Peter O'Mahony last week against Wales, so it is for Xander Fagerson this week at Murrayfield. And Xander Fagerson is going to be sent off. What a sad moment for Xander Fagerson. What a key moment it could be, of course, in this match. Wales now looking to make Scotland pay, as they couldn't quite do so against Ireland last week. Falatau has a look, and the number 8 may pick and go himself, but it's being left to men behind him. Carry on by Wyn Jones, and he's there now as the try for Wales. He's scored that, say the Wales players. I promise. And they will look at this. So on-field decision is a try. It's down, it's grounded.
Yeah, I've got one movement onto the line.
It's all in one movement, it's grounded clearly.
It is all turned around at Murrayfield. And Wyn Jones' try puts Wales in front. You can imagine the noise that would be swelling inside Murrayfield just now as the home side tries again to get the squeeze on Wales, trying to get it to move, but Wales are firm, so Scotland told to use it. This time the scrum does not buckle. Wide they go, Russell out to Hogg. Hogg tries to hand off one man for the line, and Hogg, has he got it down? He has. Try for Scotland and their captain, and Scotland are back in front. 14-man Scotland take the lead.
Stuart Hogg with his gas just gets on the outside, causes Owen Watkin to get off balance, and it's great strength and great acceleration from Stuart Hogg again to deliver for Scotland.
Still the tackles coming fiercely. Cherry with his first hit. Beard moves it to Halaholo. Goes beyond Falatau to the flyer. Lewis Rees-Zammit. Lewis Rees-Zammit chasing down his own kick. And Lewis Rees-Zammit, he's going to get there. What a try! What a try from this wonderful young winger. Speed and skill, and Wales are in front.
What superb skill to create that chip when you're running at full pace. That's such a hard, underestimated skill. Fantastic from Louis Rees-Zammit to back himself against Duan van der Merwe, and a perfectly weighted kick. What a phenomenal finish from Louis Rees-Zammit.
Thank you.
Watson again. Well, look where Scotland are now, though, deeper in their own half. Now through. Stuart Hogg is there. Stuart Hogg on a stumble from the captain. Looking for a hat-trick try to win it. Keble lobs it out. Harris. And both sides look so tired now. And you thought for a moment Hogg was going to create the magic. But still, an opportunity. Jones gives it on to Gray, to Russell. Russell hit by Halaholo. Matt Fagerson goes.
Backed out.
All the phases, all the ball belongs to Scotland. Johnny Gray moves on. Still not close enough to threaten a drop goal. Hoping perhaps for a penalty. 3 minutes to go. On to a dozen phases. Price sends it over the top, and it sits up nicely for Lewis Rees-Zammit.
Hold round, 16.
And the winger who may have won this game for Wales sends it all the way downfield, and off the outside of the boot it spins into touch. He cannot put a foot wrong.
He has been outstanding this afternoon for Wales.
Scotland still inside their own half. Once more, Richie Gray is the go-to man in the line out. Cherry holding in the back, and the maul is moving well for Scotland.
Still going forward. It's the same maul. Same maul.
Wales drive a wedge in there to shore it up. Still going forward though. Cherry rolling into the Welsh half.
Let it go. Let it go.
2 minutes of red time, and still Scotland have an outside chance. Russell can't quite free himself.
Not held.
Not held. Back to his feet and slips it out to Duan van der Merwe. And Duan van der Merwe, oh, what a tap tackle. Tries to get it away to Hogg. The knock on. And the game will be over now. Wales have that ball. The last chance disappears for Scotland.
Off his feet.
And the ball will be out. And Wales will have their second victory. And Scotland hands on knees, or hands on heads. They look beaten and bowed, but Wales have 2 wins from 2. What an important win for Wales. Written off at the start of this championship, but now daring to believe again.
17-3 down against a side that's full of confidence and playing the way they have been was you know, very, very pleasing from our point of view. So yeah, there were some big moments in that game from both sides, and I think we're just happy to come away with those points. Obviously, scoring 4 tries was definitely a bonus for us.
Gregor, on air, we've just been debating the red card. Can I ask for your view on what happened to Sander Fagerson?
Yeah, look, I think I'd like to have seen them look at more angles, and I think they made their mind up on a slow motion. The TMO did say, thinks there was mitigating circumstances there, that the player moved. So Zander did come in with speed to clear that contact. I initially thought he got underneath the player's head and cleared him in the chest, but look, the referee has to make that decision, and obviously has a big bearing on the game.
Are you pinching yourself a little bit? You're 20 years of age.
No, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I've settled in really well with this team, and they've all helped me settle in as well. So I'm loving being here and playing on this kind of stage.
Well, it was a fantastic match. There's so many talking points, not least actually the statistics here that show you that it's not actually having the ball, it's what you do with it. And there are Wales with 32% territory coming out on top. So, which begs the question, how did they win?
There was a few real key moments in that game. And for me, the biggest key moment was when Scotland had the disallowed try. Stuart Hogg had a penalty under the post. They took their time, he consulted with Finn Russell, and they said, no, let's keep it. Didn't take the three, they wanted to keep the ball, and they did rumble their way over for a disallowed try. Had they had scored that, the scoreline would have been 24-8, which would have completely changed the game. You know, Scotland would have been way in advance, over 2 scores in advance. Wales would have to chase it, probably play a much more expansive risky game than they were planning on. So, but that for me was the key turning point. I thought it was good leadership for Hogg to go for it, but yeah, just missed the accuracy though.
Well, the thing is, if you go for it, you really do have to score, because potentially it could have been 27-8, and you know that's more than 2 converted scores. Even if you take into account within another minute you've got Liam Williams, and you've got 3 more minutes you've got the Wyn Jones try. So if you take all the aggregate points after that, Scotland come out on top, even with the card. So these decisions are huge. They seem inconsequential, not as consequential at the time, but they are important points. When you get that chance, you've got to put these scores away.
There is a new King of Wales, Prince of Wales, First Minister. Sorry, Mark Drakeford, but you're out of a job.
I remember saying pre-match, I said there's 2 things that need to happen with Wales, which is why I think they've been a bit stale the last 12 months. Either the experienced Lions boys need to recapture form, or some youngsters just need to step up and become that new generation of Welsh player. And Louis Rees-Zammit, my gosh, like he did that. And like Jonathan Davis said it after the game, he said, I think a star is born today. And he showed like glimpses of it, but he just has, like, and Wayne Pivac did allude to a couple of defensive and high ball errors he made, but in attack, he's got X factor. And X factor, when you have a game this tight, that can sometimes be the difference. And in attack, you know, his pace is phenomenal. And just when we thought his attacking ability was what he had over everyone else, he just produced this 70-80-yard kick, which bailed Wales out of a tough situation. But yeah, I think he really announced himself on the European stage yesterday, and he's looking very strong to hold that 14 shirt now for the rest of the championship.
Watching that match yesterday, 50 minutes in, you know, half an hour to go, and Wayne Pivac changes the half-backs, and you think, well, that's a big call, and that's the kind of decision that coaches stand or fall by. But in fact, all the players that came off the bench for Wales really impacted on the game.
I think it was great faith from Wayne Pivac in the young players. So Willis Halaholo here, number 23, first cap for Wales, and they came on, they all had big moments. This turnover that he won here gave Wales the kick to the corner, and off that line out, that's when Liam Williams scored his try. That's a big moment. Leon Brown, now Scotland scored off this scrum, but Wales had just given away 2 penalties prior to this. One more, they were probably looking at a sin bin, potential penalty try.
A good illegal binding, that is.
I'll let you discuss that. But he came on, rock solid scrum, stopped the sin bin. Even though they gave away a try, it was actually a win for Wales. Hardin Sheedy came on, really picked up the tempo. And you could hear it on the ref's mic, the energy was picking up massively from a Welsh perspective, and I just felt the tide was turning. But then all these substitutes had a massive impact, and Leon Brown gets his hands on the ball here. And when Wales played a bit looser, we just saw Louis Rees-Zammit's tries. We see the way they're playing here, nice attacking kicking option from Sheedy. But when Wales went around Scotland, they tried going through them for the first 20, 30 minutes. And Scotland, like against England, muscled up really well. When Wales went outside their defence, they actually got a lot of success. James Botham came on as well, was really good, got a vital contact rip here just to stop that Scottish momentum again and win the ball back for Wales. But all the substitutes who came on, who were all really young, really inexperienced, up in Murrayfield against Scotland, who were favourites, they all came on and delivered, so I was delighted to see that.
Interesting selection decision for the England game at half-back, because the 2 players who came on before yesterday had 7 caps. The 2 players that went off had more than 140. We'll talk about that at the end. Let's talk about the red card now. Any debate?
Well, look, let's frame it this way. Before this tournament started, we all had conferences with World Rugby, and so did the coaches. So therefore, by extension, their players knew exactly what they were focusing on, and this was one of 5 areas. In fact, it was one of the biggest areas of it, and they knew that this was going to be looked at. And they got the previous week where there'd been a red card for Peter Marnie. If you take off from 10 metres it's going to be deemed reckless because you can't do anything to control what happens thereafter. You also choose whether you do or don't use your arms. If you took the simple expedient of wrapping an arm like this, you could still hit with your shoulder, but you might get the benefit of the doubt. When that happens and you hit above there, if you don't want the referee to make a decision that you don't like, don't make him make one.
The key thing, I think, as well, is to say that you said it was a bit harsh in commentary, but when you think about it, consistency is everything, isn't it, in terms of the perception and how people see it. And if the game wants to eradicate that kind of challenge, it has to have consistency of penalty, and then players will stop doing it.
Yeah, spot on. And you know, referees will go into players' camps and say, listen, this is what we're looking out for. And I guess I'm going to go back myself, which is why refereeing is such a tough job. I had 24 hours to look at it, think about it. I agree it is a red card now. I think he could have gone a bit lower. The fact he tucked his arm in so he led with the shoulder went against him. You've got to look at it like when you're chop tackling. We see players who chop tackle just diving in with no arms is a penalty against. It's the same with a ruck clear out. You need to treat a ruck clear out like a tackle. You need to use your arms first. So I do agree it was a red card, and you're right. By giving the red card, it sets the precedent, and that's the only way we're going to learn. And you know, I got to take myself away from it. It's not how the game was played 2 years ago. Now it's moved on, and now that is a red card, and I think the referee made the right decision.
Yeah, the game does have to adapt. And a quick word from a Scottish perspective: if anybody woke up this morning thinking life is just not fair, it must be Stuart Hogg, because he was just magnificent.
Yes, he was, and you know, everything. Nearly, he did as much as humanly possible by one player to rescue a situation which he hadn't created. Look, you go back to his decisions for penalties and so on, but he backed his players. But you have to score there. He's a tremendous player. Of course, you feel sorry for that. But if you want to look in the cold light of day, and this is what Scotland have got to do if they want to improve, you've got to judge on these here. There were mistakes made, there were points taken or weren't taken that should have been taken.
I agree. I think Stuart Hogg's been the player of the championship so far in the 2 games, but like you said, for Scotland to evolve from the reputation they've had in the past 10 years, you know, they beat England, which is an incredibly difficult fixture. Now you've got your home game. Your foot is on the throat of the rest of the championship, and this is when you have to deliver at home. You have to back up a good performance with another good performance, obviously, and they weren't able to do that with just a couple of key moments. So a steep learning curve for Scotland, and I actually wanted to see them win. I know that sounds weird as a Welshman, but I want to see them develop. They've taken so many good strides over the past few years, but they just got to back up another game after another.
Just seeing that caption, by the way, Stuart Hogg now just 2 off, leading try scorer for Scotland, Ian Smith and Tony Stanger, Brian.
Tony Stanger, yes, who scored or didn't score in 1990 when we lost the Grand Slam. Not that I'm bitter.
But 31 years on, it is still wrangling. Anyway, next up for Wales, it's the Principality Stadium, and England in a fortnight's time. We have a weekend off next weekend. That's at 4 o'clock on BBC One. The following day, we're at the Stade for France against Scotland. Another side, obviously. France going still on for a Grand Slam. And the Rugby Union Weekly podcast available from Tuesday. So England in action yesterday for the 2nd consecutive Saturday. And for another weekend, it was time to remember former players from yesteryear who've lost their lives in the last couple of weeks. Last week, it was John Pullen and Bob Wilkinson, both of whom played in that famous Barbarians match in Cardiff in 1979. Yesterday, Dave Edgerton, who played alongside Brian on so many occasions, and Phil Horrocks-Taylor, a Lion, in 1959, both of whom died this week. Well, England obviously had a lot to think about after that defeat against Scotland last week, and Italy cast, as so often, sadly, as sort of bystanders.
5 changes for Eddie Jones, a new front row with Exeter's Luke Cowan-Dickey given a first Six Nations start. Saracens loosehead Mako Vunipola back from injury. Bristol tighthead Carl Sinclair back from suspension, with Courtney Laws back fit at 6. In the backs, Leicester's George Ford returns at fly half, with Owen Farrell switching back to centre. Just 2 Italian changes for head coach Franco Smith. In the forwards, Zebra's Andrea Lavotti returns at loosehead to win his 44th Italian cap. The experienced playmaker Carlo Canna comes in at 12, with Marco Zanon ruled out injured, shifting Benetton Treviso centre Juan Ignacio Brex from 12 to 13 after his debut last week. On the benches, Eddie Jones has gone for a 6-2 split of forwards and backs, while Italy have returned to the more traditional 5-3 arrangement. Negri, Manages to get the quick pass away. Penalty advantage again.
Advantage offside.
Lamaro carried a lot last week, happy to do the same again. Out to the far side, they've got numbers there. Italy, what an opportunity! It's Montana Ioane who goes over to score his first ever try for the Italians. And who would have thought? It's the shirts of blue on top with less than 3 minutes played.
We'll see if anybody's held off the ball.
You saw the pass from Trula there, really setting up the numbers on this near side. Well worked by the Italian backs. Cowan-Dickey, is it third time lucky? Not to be.
Onside.
Sinclair goes himself. That one's gone over. It's Johnny Hill who goes over for his debut England try. The Exeter man only made his debut against Italy in October, enjoying his time in an England shirt. Forwards just pummeled and pummeled away at the line, eventually getting their reward. Farrell. Daly. May. To Slade. Not a lot of space on the near side. Youngs. Sinclair can't get that last pass away, but he keeps it alive. Johnny Hill, the try scorer, gets it out to Watson. How much space does he need? Here goes Watson. He does not need a lot. And it's the Bath man who goes over to score England's second. Quick hands from Johnny Hill out to Watson, who managed to do a nice little sidestep to finish things off. Youngs, Sinclair.
No hands! No hands! Advantage, 17 clearly off.
Penalty coming for England again. Even though the clock's gone red, they've got a free shot.
17 clearly off feet, on the ball then.
Cowan-Dickey manages to get every inch out of the ball he can. Back then to Ford, manages to use Daly. May is waiting. Johnny May on his tiptoes. Has he finished that? If he has, that is stunning. What a finish. Is he still in control of that ball?
Mike, I have
That
a decision.
looks good.
Stick with your on-field decision. Try.
One of the most incredible finishes by Johnny May you will ever see. Trula. Biji. England back inside their own 22. Oh, what a take here by Anthony Watson. The intercept is a beauty. Garbisi has nothing left. Watson goes over for a double. Beautifully read by Bath's Anthony Watson, scoring his 20th England try. He had the gas, he had the energy and the finish. That try for England also lines up a bonus point for them. What an England scrum. Matt Proudfoot will be proud.
Have a go, Blue? No. You can get your 18. No.
Robson's gone quickly, he's off, he's away, he needs someone to go with him. He's managed to evade Italians, he's still going, Robson. He's stopped just a metre short. Wonderful stuff from the Wasps scrum half. Atoje. He's got support there from Yules. Itoje round the corner. Here comes Jack Willis, only on the field just seconds. Itoje again. They decide to go round the other way, and this time it is over, and it's that man, Jack Willis, who gets his second try in an England shirt. It all came from Dan Robson, who made good 20 metres to get down the field, and it was his teammate Jack Willis that finished it off. Italy power towards the line. They've got support. Here comes Tommaso Allen to score Italy's second. Almost came from nothing. This was the breakaway. Good work there. Came through. The pass was from Federico Mori. Fed to his fellow replacement, Allen, who dots down. Passed off ball to Sinclair. The Bristol man rolls forward. Still England. Robson waiting. Manages to get it out wide. Going to be dotted down by Elliot Daly. England are back to winning ways. 6 tries. Whilst Italy, they're still chasing dreams.
We just wanted to attack the game. We wanted to be more ourselves, more energetic, more better intentions. And, you know, even when things didn't go our way today, and there's still a lot that we can do better, it felt like we were back to that.
I think we can still convert more opportunities, but defensively, the second part of the game better, but there's still a lot of hard work. But as you all know, it is a young group.
We took a good step forward, which is the main thing. Yeah, our execution wasn't great, but our mindset to play was good. You know, as I said last week, we got it wrong in terms of trying to add something to our game, and it took away from our game. So this week we took a little bit away and got back to where we were.
Well, worth saying, as you look at that table, don't forget bonus points. That could be absolutely crucial. And courtesy of a bonus point, that England actually managed to win the Six Nations last time. So that's why we've got so many teams there on an odd number of points after 2 rounds. One thing we didn't show you during that edit was the injury to Jack Willis just after he'd scored a try. And at the time, it looked absolutely horrendous. And you actually heard the scream when his knee, his leg took the impact. There's actually some quite encouraging news today that he hasn't, they think anyway, damaged his ACL, but only after scans over the next 48 hours or so will they be sure. And obviously everybody here wishes him the speediest possible recovery and return to the field of play. Franco Smith actually mentioned in that interview about Italy's defence, and I know you want to focus on that.
Yeah, I love all the nitty-gritty analysis stuff. This was England's attack. And I do agree their mindset to play was better, but you can see how narrow Italy are here. The white line there demonstrates that's half the pitch. And they've got 12 players within that, and that's why England played to width a lot. So they just went 3-4 passes. It was a little bit scrappy still. I'm not sure whether they'll get away with that against other nations late in the championship, but the space was highlighted here, was out wide for Italy, and that's why England went there. Hill does a good job, Anthony Watson does a good job holding their width, so when the ball gets to him, across the covering defence, Anthony Watson with his footwork and skill level can pick off Italian defenders quite easily. So this is another example. Italy have honeypotted again around that ruck. There's another, the white line here indicates just over halfway, you know, from a width perspective, and they've got 11 players on the wrong side defending when there's no threat. On this side, the 4 England players highlighted are all backs, all running threats, and Italy's defence is really unorganised. Some of the players shoot off the line, some of them hold back, so are they like trying to push, are they trying to rush off? And then this 14 does not make a decision. You have to either get in the passing lane and stop that pass, or he's got to take Johnny May, the left-hand side option, and take man and ball. He does neither. His back is to Johnny May, and that actually gifts England a try. So, yeah, England were good and they scored tries, but I think it was poor Italian defence as well. Anthony Watson, in contrast, this is what your winger should do. You've got to be all in. So he comes right off the line, he puts loads of pressure on Garbisi, grabs the ball, and that's a defensive try from a good read from Anthony Watson. So it just shows the indecisiveness of the Italian right-hand side winger compared to Anthony Watson. That was the difference between conceding a try and scoring a try. So England got some good tries, but I'm not sure if Wales, Ireland and France are going to give England the same opportunities that Italy did.
Let's talk about the England midfield. I mean, we could turn the clock back 6 years and talk about the Ford-Farrell axis.
This
what
is the
do you
point,
think?
Isn't it? We're still there. We know exactly what the Ford-Farrell and Slade axis can do and not do. But at the moment, whilst they've scored 6 tries, the individual brilliance of Watson and May papered over cracks that are there. Look at these passes. These passes, not only not going to hand, but the ones that do go to hand are passes behind the stop passes. You know, and that is not a side that's playing with any sort of fluency. And they need that, because if they don't have that, they can't put consistent threats anywhere on the field.
Yeah, I agree. I think like Eddie Jones said, the intent was to play, and perhaps like a consequence of that is some more errors. But like you say, Brian, it was unusually high, the handling errors.
Just a quick word, we saw the Johnny May try there. I know Nigel Owens, of course, wholly unbiased, has said that the key thing he actually said he would have disallowed the Johnny May try, making the point that diving to score is allowed, but jumping to avoid a tackle is not. I think at the end of the day, though, you say it's great entertainment, isn't it?
Well, yes, but the thing is that's both. Because he doesn't, there's no Novus actor intervenience, no intervening clause. He just takes off and then he lands. To me, a jump is when you jump and you land on your feet. A dive is when you take off from your feet and you land somewhere else. So I think it's both. It's a very, if you had to choose one to explode the floor in that, you've got it. But to me, when it looked first off, did it look dangerous? No, it didn't. Was it a try? I think it probably was.
OK, we've got a week off and then we've got 2 monster games. So quick word about France against Scotland, Sam. Can you see, given Scotland's ambition, can you see them doing what they did? 1999, wasn't it, last time Gregor Townsend scored a try there and Scotland won in Paris?
Well, I mean, the championship's been thrown wide open. If you asked any of us 2 weeks ago, will Wales win up in Scotland after the result Scotland had against England, most people would have said no. And don't think anybody saw Scotland come in to Twickenham to beat England. So the great thing about the Six Nations is there's always an upset. We've had a couple of early ones, but Scotland, without doubt, the quality that they've shown, and if they keep 15 men on the field, they've absolutely got a chance against France. So,
and if they take the points when they're offered.
Yeah.
OK, and in Cardiff?
Well, I mean, you know, presuming that England keep 15 players on the field, it will be the first time that Wales have played against 15 players for 80 minutes. And we will see whether there's been an element of luck in there or whether the talents of Louis Rees-Zammit and all the players we highlighted who came on are a bit of a new dawn and Pivac's turned the corner. We will see.
That's the massive question. Do you put faith in guys who've had 4, 5, 6 caps against England at home, the biggest game in the Welsh calendar, or do you go with your tried and tested experienced players? So it's going to be a fascinating selection.
And if you were him, would you gamble and go for broke?
Oh... This is why I'm not paid the big money to be head coach of Wales. Oh, do you know what? I don't know. I actually don't know, and that's why I'm fascinated. I couldn't call it. OK, well, enjoy your week off, and we'll see you in a fortnight's time. Also worth saying, by the way, that, of course, the very last match of the Championship this year is France against Wales. Just saying. See you.
And Louis Rees-Zammit, he's got a gander. What a try!
England are back to winning ways. 6 tries.
It's 2 out of 2 wins.